All right. Hello, everyone. I am back. Dusty is on his way. He's a couple minutes late today, but hello. And as usual, thanks to everyone at Reinventing the Tattoo, Guy, Gabe, and the whole crew for giving us a platform where we can come together and do something that tattooers don't typically do, which is talk about our feelings. So thank you all for being here, and thank you all for having us. As I may have said, I am Robbie Ripoll, and we are returning from 2 weeks of not doing feelings. The week, not last week, but the week prior, I just had some other shit come up. And then last week, I had the most technical difficulties I've had. So that was fun. But I opened my computer today, tried it all out, and we're back. So good to have, good to be back. Good to have the internet working. And give me a moment. I'll be right back. All right, I am back. So yeah, it's been a time living life and life coming as it does. And I've been facing some challenges for sure. But like it's weird because at the end of it all the challenges that are frustrating and weird and uncomfortable, I am able to take a step back and see how good life really is outside of all the worries and the bullshit and the stories that I make up in my head about how life isn't good enough. So it's been a weird ride. It's been a journey. We're all in this together. So I know some of y'all feel this. I know Dusty's been feeling this. A lot of folks I run into have been feeling this, like there's some sort of shift going on. And it's best to just go with it. Allow the shift to happen, and allow the things to come as they come instead of like stressing and over worrying and forcing things. Just do the things. And I've been doing the things. I've just been trying to really do the things. It's not always easy, but I always make it. And that's the most important thing. I've had some unexpected stuff, but then also I've had just this layer of understanding kind of that comes along with life, right? So like I just kind of understand that things get difficult. My manager at the shop, Brittany, she is amazing, and she has been going through a lot of shit as well. And it's weird because it's like the way I explained it the other day is like I'm just at 60% frustrated a lot of the time. But that's good enough, right? Like I can make it through life with that level sometimes, because anything more than 20% of stress used to fucking send me into a tailspin. So now I'm just kind of like learning how to live through all my stresses, all my problems, all my worries, and how to just accept how life comes at us. Life comes at us in really weird ways, faster, harder, and more scary than most of the time that we can accept. But if we just keep doing it, and we just keep moving, and we just keep doing our best, loving ourselves, loving others, enjoying the ride, as much as possible. I was driving to work the other day, and this concept of anxiety popped into my head, which is anxiety and excitement mashed into one. And really, the reason why I came up with that is because your body can't tell the difference between anxiety and excitement. So, if you're excited about doing something that also makes you anxious, well, now you're just having like a double dose of that feeling. And if anxiety is at the forefront of your, thought process, then it can be pretty rough. So just remember, anxiety and excitement, your body can't tell the difference. And at this moment, we have the man, the myth, the legend, good old Dusty Pitstick dropping in.
Hello, sir. Can you hear me?
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
Living life.
That is an apt statement. I am also alive, and it is life.
Yep. And we're living it.
I am living it.
We are living it. Yeah. Today was one of those days where it was annoying to live it.
What had happened was
nothing. Which is the weird thing. It's just, the mental state. And Donna's been really stressed out because she's been doing a lot more than was planned, between managing tattoo shop stuff that we need to get straight again since having the business partner back out, and then getting her own coaching program put together for the studio management. So she's been doing her best to figure out the website stuff on top of doing all the shop stuff, and it's been a lot. And then her being so in the computer and stressed out, I feel that. And then if I'm in something, then my initial reaction is to go and be reactive. And today I didn't do that, but I'm just working through all the things that are annoying, because life can get annoying sometimes.
a lot of annoying things, yes.
To
say the least.
Yeah. So now we're back. We don't have the internet problems that we had last week. So good to see you again. And
good to see you.
I wanted to dive in because I'm seeing your message. Bashing food in record time.
It has been like the weirdest weather.
Okay.
The past week or so here, where it'll be like 40 degrees at night and then like 87 degrees in the day, and it'll rain and it'll get cold again, and then it'll rain and it'll get cold and then it'll get humid. But we've had these it's gorgeous out, and then it's like fat, super hail, storm, rain, fat rain. Just on and off and all over the place, really no logic or rhyme or reason. So I left the shop about the time I should have, but then I was trying to grab food real quick and everything caught up. And then the whole highway drive, instead of being the 65-mile-an-hour speed limit, was 40, because it was you can't see 2 feet in front of you kind of rain. So kind of just threw me a little off my game. So I walked in my door at 4:59 and just immediately proceeded to inhale the food I had grabbed as quickly as possible. And then I sent you a message saying I might be 5 minutes late. So here we are.
Cool. Love it. So I know you had a concept for a topic on last week that we didn't get to dive into.
Yeah. You've been
So-
asking me to come up with concepts and topics. It is to put it into something I have been reflecting on a lot and talking with friends and family and loved ones about a lot lately. And it has also been a topic in therapy related stuff a lot lately. Is a big thing that whether it is friendship, whether it is love language, whether it is self-care, whether it is any one of the number of things that go into our lives and our emotional well-being, when there is a misalignment. That is a word I just totally pulled out of my ass, but I feel like it's an apt one. Misalignment of ideologies that, if your love language is intimacy and touch and your partner's love language is gift giving, but not touch, that you may be in a weird relationship where you are trying to figure out constantly why the other person doesn't like you. And you are trying to be a people pleaser and give them more gifts and do more things because that is how you show your love, when it is not how they do. And it causes this weird imbalance of, it can be that way with work relationships. It can be that way with, friendships. It can be that way with strangers that you interact with, that you think you're doing a good deed and they do not take it as such. I have gotten less over the past couple years touchy. Like, I'll shake people's hand a lot more. I used to be a big hugger, and I am hugging less, and I'm working on figuring out why that is. But I know a lot of clients that when I go to shake their hand afterwards, they're bring it in, and I'm just like, ugh. And there is like a weird, like, I usually end up just being like, okay, pat, but like, you don't want to upset people because you don't hug them when they ask for a big hug.
But then you stopped hugging because you didn't want to upset people.
I still do hug people because I don't want to. When people are like, bring her in, give me a big hug. I don't want to be like, ew, no. But nobody wants to hear that. But it is one of those things where it is also like, I don't necessarily want to hug you. And sometimes I do. There's sometimes where I tattoo people or have friends or family or whoever that are going through stuff where it's like, let me give you a hug. Let me help console you. But it's really just another example of that weird misalignment of like, nobody's wrong because they want to hug you, and you're not wrong if you don't want to receive that hug and you just want to like give them a high five. Nobody's wrong if they want to shower you with gifts, equally that you're not in the wrong if you don't want to have gifts given to you. Nobody is wrong if they want to be a little bit of a time hog, if that is their love language, is quality time. But if you value your independence, that doesn't make you in the wrong either. And it's just a weird thing of that misalignment, and like, how do you communicate it? How do you overcome it? How do you work with it? And I bring it up just because we're here to talk about feelings, and that's what we do talk about. But it is also something that is very interesting in the tattoo world specifically, because we do all form a lot of odd and uncanny and kind of peculiar relationships, sometimes with our clients, with our bosses, with our mentors, with our apprentices, with our coworkers. And it's weird to see how they develop sometimes, to where you may think you're making all the right moves and being cool, like, oh, I did this for so and so, and I did that, and I did this, and I did this. And maybe that's not what they want. Maybe that's not what they need. So in your head, you make all the right moves, and in their head, you're like, why is this person bothering so much? Or in the flip side of that, sometimes it happens to us too, like with attention, where people, hey, I'm upset, I'm going to take a step back, and then other people are like, oh, they're not talking, are they mad? Sometimes you just give people space because you feel that they need space, and that's the last thing they want, but it's not really communicated, and then they think you hate them. And it just a lot of that spirals out of control and really does turn into people build up resentments, and people build up feuds, and people build up things where they think people are leaving or that people want to leave. And it's crazy how much stuff goes on that we could control pretty easily by being able to just take a step back and be more communicative of it. And I've been guilty of it too, of just, the harborment or harboring resentment and all that. It builds up because people just they kind of do their thing, and they go how they feel, or how they decide others feel, rather than communicating about it. And it's just figuring out how to overcome that barrier of being like, all right, well, I'm a gifter and I really like you, but you don't like trinkets and stuff, and you don't want a lot of things. So like, maybe I just give you compliments, or maybe it's that, reassurance is a big thing for a lot of people. But yeah, just figuring out what other people's languages are and how to work around it and work with it.
No, that's 100%, man. Cause like, all the shifts that have been going on in my studio, the piercer leaving, the business partner backing out. And it's one of those things like how 9/11 brought everybody together in a really wonderful way. All these things happening inside the studio have brought me, Donna, and Brittany really close, in a way that we just care so much about the studio now. And I can say that like there was a period that I really didn't care much about it. And obviously there was an energetic shift there because of that. So when I started trying to bring back in the care and the love, then more things were going wrong even after we recalibrated. And now it just everything that goes wrong, I care more about finding the proper aligned solution rather than just acting out of, I need this, so let's figure it out, right? So in us searching for the right things, one of the things that I heard somewhere years ago, and I try to put into my daily life, is if it isn't a fuck yeah, don't do it. So with hiring, with decision making, with things that we're doing inside the studio, me, Brittany, and Donna all kind of talk like that to each other. So like, if we're looking at, we need to fill a chair and there's a person that's available, okay, well, do we just bring them in for that sake of needing to fill the chair? And then one of us will be like, well, if it's not a fuck yeah. And then we're like, okay, cool, let's wait for the right thing to happen. So in that happening, now we have new people coming in and having to learn how to communicate to and through simple things, less than simple things, disasters, small problems, how to congratulate and make them feel welcome and loved. We had another piercer that we just hired, and they're very, very timid. And you know me, right? Like, I'm like, come on,
Yeah.
what are you doing over there being shy? So, and I think this is where it circles back to what you were saying about love languages and communication styles. How do I communicate to that person that they're valued? Because every person that matters, I don't even want to say matters, every person that has something to do with hiring, firing, or running the studio has expressed their appreciation. And this person is very, very timid and shy. So in the past, that would make me, and I hear my mom in my head being like, I don't trust quiet people. And like, of course, that's indoctrination from my youth, right? So like, I hear my mother saying, I don't trust quiet people. So I'm like, all right, we've already worked past that level of distrust. So how do I communicate to this person and through this blockage? And one of the things that Jeremy Miller, I took a business course that he was running. And that was one of the things he talked about, having everyone in the studio taking the 16 personalities test, Myers-Briggs test, I think it's called. But 16personalities.com is this place where you can go take it. And it's a great idea, right? But if you have the information of like, okay, well, this person's an INFJ, you know, and they're tumultuous, and you know, you know, all these different things. Like, if you don't know how to communicate with that information is still kind of moot data, right? So like,
Yeah.
it goes now to the book that I started listening to today while I was at the gym, having a butt fuck of a time because the gym all of a sudden got difficult again this morning. But she was saying in this book that like all the answers are inside you. And you know, and I mean, you took the magical motherfucker class. That was one of the biggest pillars there, was like, the answers are inside. Go inside, ask for guidance, you know, ask the question and you'll get the answer. So it's like, it's just a matter of being intuitive with the humans that are in your life is what I feel is a good solution to it. And like, when you're listening to what they're saying and you're trying to hear what they're saying and you're trying to give them what you actually think they need instead of what you want to give them, that's the difficult thing. You know, my affinity to trash reality television. Donna was watching the Ultimatum Queer Love, and so yesterday I didn't want to do anything because it was a Sunday and I like to relax on Sundays. So I just, well, she was on the internet fucking doing web stuff, I'm watching this Ultimatum show. And one of the things that one of the people in the couple said was like, and it was wild because she was talking to this girl's dad about this girl. And she was like, yeah, this other person that I did this trial marriage with asked me what I need. And no one's ever asked me that before. And like, as a parent, that would hurt me to find out my child never asked a partner, like, you've been together 4 years, you ain't never asked that person what they need out of this relationship or what they need from you. But like, that is such a beautiful, simple concept. Like, what do you need from me? And most people don't know how to answer it. And that's why I feel like going inside in our intuition is a really good way of like figuring out how to communicate, I guess. So yeah, I feel you on all that.
Well, it's crazy because you had just made that comment that you're like, man, it would be really wild to think that you've got somebody who has been with someone for years and never asked them, like, oh, you know, what do you need? But like, I think so often that a lot of us don't, whether it's with a romantic partner, whether it's with friends, whether it's with family, because we don't do things to, we do things to hurt people. Absolutely. Sometimes, most of this, and more often than not, though, it's not that we're doing things malicious or to hurt people. It's just that we can't see past our own noses enough that you don't have to ask somebody what they need, because in your brain, I'm so smart, I know what they need. I've listened to them talk. Oh, they said they like this. So, you know, like, oh, they said they really like travel and they really like reading. So I'm going to buy them a bunch of travel books. They may have also somewhere in there not communicated that they fucking hate clutter or don't like books, or you know, I prefer audiobooks.
Right.
Like, we take the context clues that we do pick up on and we just decide so much stuff. And it's not that we're ignorant or that we're hateful or spiteful to never sit down and be like, hey, what do you need from this? What do you need from me? It's that we're so just self-consumed sometimes with our own, like, oh, I got this shit on lock. Kick-ass friend of the year here. I heard him say this. I'm gonna do that. And, you know, I'm gonna buy them those concert tickets. They're gonna think I'm the shit. And they're, oh, I have, you know, a thing that day. Oh, you have a thing? I didn't even know. You know, like,
right.
just so much stupid little stuff that it really is, the end of the day, like, vulnerability, I think, is the most uncomfortable form of communication. And outside of telling someone their baby is ugly, that's really hard too. But vulnerability is probably the most uncomfortable form of communication, because it is saying like, hey, I don't know what you need, help. And it's wild because it's such a human, and none of us really know what we need, let alone what others need. But it's somehow so hard to say, help me help you with this. Like, what can I do? And sometimes it's just I love the show Parks and Rec. It's one of my favorite shows. There's a whole episode based around the idea that Rashida Jones's character, she's married to here, and I can see his stupid face, Rob Lowe. And he keeps trying to. She's pregnant and everything with the baby. Oh, I have heartburn right now. I'm worried about the crib. I miss that. He'll like drive to another state and get a new crib, or he's doing all this stuff. And finally, at the end, they learn to sit down and for her to just be like, I just need to complain, and for you to say it, that sucks. And it's funny because it's such a silly concept that all she wants is him to just hear her complain because she just wants to air grievances and not fix and not do that. To just be like, damn, that sucks. And then, she puts her head on his lap and is like, yeah, that sucks. And they just like, oh, okay, we magically leveled up our relationship. We get it now. But it is a funny thing that like that is true, that a lot of times people just want to complain, or they want to, be a certain way and to just have you listen. And we are so tuned in on trying to get them this or do that or fix this. And it just, that simple communication of like, what do you need? Or do you need anything? Do you just need me to smile and nod? I have learned over the years that if you can just listen and throw in the occasional, like, damn, that's wild. Most people are just so happy to have that. They don't want you to fix it. They don't just, damn, that's wild. I hear you. And to actually listen helps if you back it up by actually paying attention, of course. But just to like throw in some damn that's wild and the occasional like I told you they're crazy. But it's so hard to be vulnerable enough to be like, is that what you need? Is this what you want? And this has been like a huge topic in my life since I've been born, I think, if we're being real about it, but especially over the last couple of years. About a year ago, I left a shop that I was at for more than a couple of years. And there was a lot of people there that like, some of them I've kind of buried the hatchet with, some of them I haven't. It's all over the place. And I took so much offense when I left because I was like, the owner and I did not get along. There was a lot of stuff I didn't think was going on that was right. There was stuff that I was more than willing to admit that I was probably in the wrong about. But like, I was like, I don't like this. I don't like how this is going. And I left. And there were people that kind of ghosted on me. And they were people that maybe had their own reasons and maybe, whatever. But I was like so and offended and like mopey and angry and complainative and hungry about the whole thing that like I was just in a bad form for a while because it was like, this motherfucker's phone broke and I bought a new one. And they're like, can I have your old phone? And I'm like, yeah, how about I just buy you one? Because my old phone sucks. Or like people that I worked with it when their iPad shit out, I'm like, I'll get you an iPad. Or like got them, fucking, hey, like I'm back to lunch or whatever. Because that's kind of my like friendship language is like, I make money. I am super low maintenance. I have money to spare. I would rather spend it on people I love. And if they need something, get it for them. If there's a GoFundMe, donate to it. If this person's hungry, buy them lunch. Just there's no expectation out of it of like, you owe me. But I've kind of started to learn that I secretly did harbor an expectation of like, not that you're buying friendship per se, but like, man, I've done all these great things for you. Why wouldn't you remain friends with me when I leave? And it took a while to realize like maybe that's not shit it's shit they needed. Maybe it's not shit they wanted. Maybe that's not their language. Maybe they had other stuff going on that I'm so busy worrying about my end of like, oh, fucking la-di-da, I bought you a fucking iPad and some chicken nuggets. Like, you too good for me now? That like maybe they had a whole bunch of other shit going on I don't know about. And it took a while to get to that point of realizing like you might not only not be the problem, you might not even be on their radar right now. Stop taking shit so personally. Stop thinking anyone owes you anything because you did what you think is right or you made the right moves. And that was, I mean, shit, I left that place almost a month ago, a year. September will be a year. And I'm just now really unpacking it to the point of like making peace with it. And it made me kind of like a grody bummer person in some aspects. And I'm a pretty smiley dude and my clients like me and I think people like me, but it made me harbor resentments under my skin, I think, towards a lot of people that probably didn't deserve it. and it made me very ambitiously like outwards towards people about certain things. Like I got real opinionated on a lot of things, and I got real like grumpy. And it was really because in my head and in my heart, I was like, I fucking did cool shit for these people. Why don't they like me? And it took a while to step back and be like, man, maybe not everyone likes you. Maybe um, you can't buy friendship, even if that's not what you were trying to do. Maybe those people will come around. Maybe they're just fucking assholes and you're not in the wrong. Occasionally, you're not. You know, like it could be any number of these things, or a lot of them, or none of them, but you just have to let it play out and stop letting it affect everything else so hardly. And that's what's funny is that it really did boil down to there's people from that shop that I am still homies with that had a similar love language or a similar friendship language or whatever you want to call it, that would absolutely like we'd like fight at restaurants. You know, we all go out after a convention and you try to like on the sly, like they're like, all right, how are we doing bills? Like, oh, one check. And then the other friend hands them the card before you can even get the check. So, you know, there were people that had that similar language as me. And I've had that in friendships and relationships in the past. And that's always cool. But it's just such a muddy water of like trying to figure out how other people are. And like you said, how to best accommodate it without intimidating or weirding people out. If you have a bashful person at your job, you can find a fun way to work with that and maybe even get them to open up a little more. But you've got to figure out how to doing it without making it super weird, because it's really easy to make it super weird. And I'm kind of a chronic oversharer in uncomfortable situations. So like I'll tell people like, oh, I almost called you Dave instead of Dan, but now I'm telling you that I almost called you Dave instead of Dan. So now you know. And now I feel even weirder that I said it. I thought it'd make me feel better instead of keeping it in. And now it doesn't. And now we're standing here and now you're looking at me and now I don't know what to do. And it just like spirals so fast that you have to like figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've gone through a lot of that in the past few year or so. Of just like changing how I help people, because I would insert myself in every problem in everyone's life and like try to help them help themselves. And that was greeted with coldness, irritation, aggression, fuck yous sometimes. And it's like maybe not everybody requires help in the way that I can see the solution right now. Like you said about the Parks and Rec show, how she just wanted to vent and like she just needed to hear that sucks. Sometimes the people that work at your studio that you see the roots of their problem, well, maybe they don't want to hear about the root of their problem right now. Maybe they're not fucking ready, you know? Maybe they don't need you to help them. Maybe they don't want a fucking healing session right now, you know? And just because I'm running around like being like, hey man, let's heal together, doesn't mean motherfuckers want to heal with you at this moment. You know, like the concept of being able to heal your emotions is so foreign to some people that like it makes them feel weird to even think that it's possible, let alone wanting to do it, especially with people, in front of people. Like, so I've realized that like the services that I want to offer people are the services that I feel like are asked for. And that's in all aspects of my life, you know, but like especially in the shop, you know, with clients, man, I've been helping people heal their emotional wounds my whole career. And it's really not a whole lot about what I do as much as giving them a safe space to be not judged and heard.
Yeah, I love that, because that is something I do a lot of times with clients is it's so funny. I'll kind of make fun of it because on paper it's so cheesy, but I have tattooed with other people, people that I love and people that are awesome with people, but you can tell when a client is being kind of like guarded, because some of the questions you'll hear, I have like the client I tattooed today, I just tattooed her on Friday. I tattooed her husband, did a big Simpsons tattoo on him. And which is always super fun when someone hits you up specifically, like, I got a crazy Simpsons idea. You in? Fuck yeah, man. And I did the Dayton has a roller derby team. We have like 3. It's the same team, but they have like an A, B, and C team. And I guess they're like really highly ranked nationwide, and it's like a big deal. But it's the Gem City Roller Girls, and I think it's the A team. They're called the Purple Rain, which is great. But I had tied into sponsoring because I tattoo a couple of the people on the team regularly. They had asked about sponsorship, so I chipped some money in. And the initial idea we had, this is a very roundabout way. I'm getting there, I promise. We were going to do a flash sale, like a roller derby themed flash sale, and raise whatever money raised, donate half of it to the team. That was our sponsorship. Then I found out the sponsorship was due in like 10 days. I was like, I do not have enough time to organize a flash sale, but I still made the flash sheet. And I finally finished it and put it out. And now like the whole team has been bombing me. They're all coming in and getting it. So I'm tattooing this guy. His wife's like, oh, I just saw the flash sheet you like just put up. I'm on the team. Can I just come with my husband and get tattooed? So she shows up, I tattoo her. Well, then she finally realizes what Simpsons tattoo she wants while we're talking, hits me up the next day, books it for today. I didn't have anything booked because it's Monday, we're closed. So I'll go in if it's a cool idea, whatever. But her and I just, same with her husband, hit it off very quick and easy. Hey, how's your kid? How's this? Whatever, blah, blah, blah. You get those clients that are guarded and you're very like, oh, do you like the music? Like, do you have plans? It always feels like a bad school essay. You're like, do you have plans for the summer? Like, what's your favorite kind of bird? But it's so funny that you will attack from so many angles and they're guarded. And then, the person in the chair next to you getting tattooed makes some comment about like, oh, I just went and saw, the Spider-Man movie last night. And all of a sudden you see your client have that little gleam in their eye. And I'll be, oh, did you see it? And they're like, oh yeah, man, I really love the Marvel movies and what, and it's like that one thing clicks and they open up. And once that wall is down, and it is something I've seen some other artists that are good at it, and I kind of consider, not to sound full of myself, but I feel like I'm pretty good at it, is knowing just enough about everything and being able to communicate with enough sort of lifestyles of people that like, whether, you're black, white, Asian, male, female, young, old, trans, fucking liberal, whatever, like I'm usually pretty good about finding some good common ground and how to communicate with you and rolling with that. And, so like you said, it does become this healing thing. Sometimes you gotta poke and prod a little bit. Like, so you
do?
You a dog person? Like, what were the names of all of your aunts and uncles?
It gets so I just had a breakthrough with a friend of mine. Doesn't really open up ever. Like, never really. The most opening up he does to me is he tells me how good I am at doing the wellness stuff and the coaching and all that. And he's like, I see the way you are with people. Like, so when he tells me shit like that, I really take it like to heart in a good way. I'm like, damn, dog, my man fucking thinks I'm good at this. Like, he's pretty tough. So if he thinks I'm good at this, and maybe I'll get him to fucking loosen up and talk one day. Lots of sessions in the chair, and he doesn't sit well. So like, we can't really break through anything because he's just fucking trying to stay alive. And then the other night we went to dinner, us and him and his wife, and then we went to the cigar bar afterwards. And me and him sitting there smoking a cigar together. Like, that was it. That's what got him to open up. I've known this guy for a couple years. We own a real estate company together. And like, I've not gotten him to like really talk like that. And it was really cool to witness it. Because those people make you feel like you're not good anymore, right? Like, because like that's one of my gifts, right? One of my gifts naturally is getting people to open up without even trying. And I noticed that because I've had so many people open up to me and I wasn't trying, that when I meet someone that kind of gives me the same energy as my dad my whole life I used to try and break my dad. Like if I could make my dad laugh, that was the win of the century, because he was a very stoic man, right? And he was tough and angry. And like he grew up a poor fat kid in Cuba. So like, you know, and then when he came here, he was a poor fat Cuban in America. So like he didn't really trust anyone or anything. And so when I could get him to break, oh, that was the best. So like when I have those moments with people and I like break them, it's like, wow, I got you, you know? And like it's such an it's a feeling of accomplishment, like egoically, you know, like wow, I am good at this talking thing. But like it's even a bigger thing because it's like I know that person has feelings and we'll talk about them in the right setting, but like we have to get there. Actually, another thing that happened, it was wild, with another good friend of mine. So I was tattooing his business partner the other day, and like I tell him, yo, where's the homie at? Tell him to come up. And he texts him at like 5 something, and he finally shows up. And so we'd been there all day, and when he shows up around 6 or something, he's like, so did he open up to you yet? Or no, he goes to his friend, his business partner. He's like, yo, so is Robbie coaching you through things yet or what? Is he helping you? And like, this is one of the dudes that like, I didn't expect him to ever appreciate the things I do with the rad movement, because he's kind of a traditional man, you know? And so he's like, yeah, man, Robbie's really good at this shit. Like really fucking good at this shit. Like, man, he helps me through shit all the time. And I don't even realize it with him, you know, because we're just great friends. He's one of my best friends in the world. And we've known each other for years. And like, we've really like found our way in our friendship as of late too. So like, we've got all this past and all this beautiful now. And just to hear him say that about me was really cool, right? And like, I was working on dude all day, like mentally working on him, like asking the loaded questions, and he didn't open up. And as soon as George leaves, actually even before George leaves, he fucking starts opening up about the shit that I was asking about hours ago. And I was like, whoa, this is cool, man. So you like, it's like the client says the thing about the Marvel movies and now you got your in. It's really weird. Like when you're so used to doing it yourself, when you get the assist, it's really nice. But then when you hear that you're good at these things from people that you wouldn't expect to talk like that, it's like, wow, it's just a nice feeling knowing that people value the thing that I value, and I value helping people.
One of my favorites is the unexpected open up, where people like you'll do something that they don't. I've had people that will walk into our shop and take a look at everyone and look at the tattoos being done, look at me, look at the stuff in my booth, a lot of traditional stuff like Stimson stuff, whatever. And they'll sit down and it'll be like someone's like 50-year-old dad that looks like he like throws kegs 20 feet in the air for a living. And he's all right, young man, tattoo me, you know, and we'll get into tattooing. And about 15, 20 minutes in, he'll kind of mention something about, oh, well, you know, this sports team. And I'll be like, oh, man, last year when they did this and they had this guy, you know, on wide receiver and it this. And they're, oh, you watch football? And I'm like, yeah. Like, and they'll just like kind of look at me like, huh. And then just boom, like wall down. They start talking about it. I did that with the lady that I talked to today. I'm trying to remember what band it was. I was asking her about music, and she was very like, oh, you know, punk and whatever. And I'm like, oh, I love punk. And we're talking about, you know, punk music. And because I was asking her what she wanted to throw on. And so, you know, whatever. And she had kind of mentioned something about like, you know, I kind of listened to some new wave too. And I just like, oh, you know, like Depeche Mode, Joy Division, New Order, like just started zipping through stuff. And she's like, yeah. And just like immediately came back to life and started getting into stuff. So it's fun when you know enough about enough that people wouldn't expect you to Same deal. I tattooed kind of that, the 60-year-old kind of mechanic, grizzled dad on Saturday. A whole family came in and they all got tattooed by everyone in the shop. And we had the 70s station on. I mean, something about some band from the 70s. And he was like, well, do you know what this singer was trying when he wrote this song? And I was like, oh, yeah, this is about so and so. It's Rush. This is, whatever. And he's like, huh. And just kind of looked at me like, well, fuck. I guess this kid's all right. And it's nice.
Damn.
It's nice to get that out of people and to turn them around a little bit.
And it's funny because like you use knowing a little bit about a lot of things. Hi, Kitty. I use being able to relate even if I don't know it. So it's a similar tactic, right? So if you bring up sports ball, I'll be like, well, I'm not really a sportser, but Tom Brady, or some shit, and then just do something silly or something relatable or some way to keep the conversation moving, even if I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, because it gives them a sense of, wow, this person might want to hear what I have to say, or like, oh, did you see that play? No. Well, why don't you tell me about it? Because I'd love to hear about what made it so noteworthy that we're still talking about it 15 years later. You know what I'm saying? Like things like that. So I think it's a very similar tactic. And I don't really think it's I don't think it's an intentional tactic. I think it's just part of our gifts. It's just what we do. Like, you just know a lot of things and I'm a pretty relatable guy. So like,
it's nice that specific that you're saying is such a nice thing because I was telling my client this earlier today that I was like, it's so funny when you get a level of comfort with people that you're tattooing that you kind of drift in and out of conversation. Like it'll just be quiet for like 15, 20 minutes. And then they'll like, oh, did you, see this movie or whatever? And then it just clicks right back into the girl that I tattooed today. She's on the roller derby team. Roller derby names are the best thing ever, by the way.
They are. Dude, roller derby names are better than tattoo ink names.
Like the gal the first one that I did the roller derby flash on, her roller derby name is Ruthless Skater Ginsburg. And I'm like, that's great. The girl that I tattooed Friday, her roller derby name is Betty Kruger. And so she got like a purple, they're like the Gem City, it's all like purple themed for the roller girls. And like I said, the A team is named Purple Rain and stuff like that. So she got a purple pair of roller skates on her arm. And she was like, yeah, I want to do something with Freddy Krueger because of Betty Krueger, but like, I don't know. And there was another piece of flash that had like socks with like, they were coming out of skates, like big tube socks. And she was like, I was thinking maybe those with the like red and green stripes for Freddy Krueger. And, we talked about it a little bit and she hit me up. It was the next day that she's like, okay, I found out in one of the Treehouse of Horror Simpsons, the couch gag is that Freddy and Jason are sitting on the couch when the family runs in. I found a good screenshot. Can we make that a tattoo? And I'm like, of course we can. So we're talking about music, blah, blah, blah. It gets quiet for about 15 minutes. We're kind of just both zoned out. I'm hitting little spots, whatever. And she just out of nowhere, she's like, obviously I got this for that. Like, were you into horror movies? And I was like, I liked the 80s stuff, the cheese ball, buckets of blood. I was like, I don't really like the newer stuff because it's too realistic and all the like true crime stuff. Because if Jason cuts off someone's head and there's, fake blood everywhere, it's funny. It's almost like a spoof. If you hear about this person in Pennsylvania that like murdered their family and, left them in the house propped up, I'm like, that really happened to someone and it bums me out and I can't do it. And she was so like, dude, me too. And all my friends are into like Serbian film and like all these like gruesome. And she's like, I'm just not. And it turned into a whole nother 30, 40-minute conversation about that. And it turned into us talking about like old trauma movies and like all the fun horror stuff and this show, What We Do in the Shadows, that we're both into. And just like, it just started a whole nother tangent. And it was like 20 minutes of just us listening to music in silence before she asked that one question. And then just like, all right, cool, we're talking again. Boom. Like the ebb and flow is really fun.
It is, man. Cause like I call that time traveling in a sense, because like you just zone out and like the time just goes away because you're in the art, they're in the receiving, like either facing the pain, going through some healing moments, fucking whatever they're going through it too. So it's interesting when we like go in and out. I had this one guy, I think like 60s, former military. Also, he just looked like he threw kegs in the air for fun. Like he was, just a beefy fucking older fella. Didn't expect to cry with him. I'm doing like a fucking eagle and an American flag on my man's, right? So I really didn't expect to have these deep moments that we had. And then he gave me a totally different perspective on what it was like to be a parent of an older child. So like he was talking about his one son and how he was like a drug addict and stuff most of his life. And then when he like got out of that, now they have a relationship like that's so strong, and his son's like 35 or something, and they have barbecues every weekend at dad's house, and the son brings the wife and the kids over, and like Jaden's only 22 and Zen's 1. So my experience with being a parent to a child, like Jaden's not even a child anymore, but like still a kid, right? 22, we're still fucking up. Like 35, that's a different story. So I'm like, to think about Jaden like having a career, having a family, having his own house, and then bringing his family over and like hanging out the way I do on Sundays with the homies at the house, but I'm doing it with my favorite homie, my son, but as a grown, like, whoa, that blew my mind. And like him in the process of telling like about his son's active addiction and stuff like that back in the day, dude, he got madly emotional. And I was just like, it was so insane to me to like see this badass motherfucker. And like, not only did he like get real and raw and vulnerable with me, and like he's getting an American flag and eagle tattoo. When I look at my calendar, I don't expect to have like a really emotional day and like really like honor and cherish this man the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying? But like that happened. And like it was just so cool when the things you don't expect, because like, you go through the lull and you don't expect this great conversation to come out of it. And like sometimes you get in with somebody and you don't expect it. Like, dude, the one I posted today, it was a shark at the bottom and a whole beach scene, right? Well, her daughter got her leg bit off by a shark. So like I knew we was gonna have a day. You know what I'm saying? Like I almost came in with like armor on, ready to like fight these like nasty, scary, sad demons. But like you don't expect it when it's an American flag and an eagle on an old military guy.
Yeah.
Like, so it's really cool how it pops out from nowhere. Like this one lady in her 50s when I was tattooing in Indiana, maybe her 40s, but a grown up. You know what I'm saying? Like people don't confuse her for a kid. She's a grown up. She's all retro and shit, and she sells retro stuff online on eBay. Like that's her job. And her and her husband fucking adopted a kid from a foreign country and gave him a better life. So really great, awesome, specifically just them type people. I didn't expect her to be like, ooh, I like this music. This is beatdown music. Reminds me of my dungeon days. And then tells me, I've been tattooed by him a bunch, but I can tell you anything. And I was like, whoa. And then starts to tell us about her dungeon days and BDSM stuff. And like, it's so funny when like when you give people such a safe space that they can just fucking tell you anything. And this shop was an open floor plan. So everybody was privy to our conversation. Like, it is weird how much open floor plan tattooing I've done and how much weird shit has come out of people's mouths in my chair. Like, and now I work in my own room, so I feel like there's a separation, but that open floor plan style is wild. Like a couple of people can hear me, but everybody's usually in their own shit, so it's wild. What's that?
Floor plan is everything.
Until you
It
get
is my
cranky.
favorite. I'm plenty cranky, but no, open floor plan is everything because even when you do have those guarded clients or the people that just aren't opening up or the people that are kind of quiet, when there's two or three other conversations happening within 10 feet of you, it all slowly morphs into, and I have seen it, it doesn't always go perfect. You definitely get one of the best things I ever saw was at my old shop. I'm sure at some point you saw videos or heard the stories of Mark, like the guy in his 70s that didn't get his first tattoo until his 70s, and now he's like damn near covered neck down. Everybody at the shop had tattooed him at some point. I did a few lettering things on him, but he kind of got like he always wanted to get tattooed, and he had some inheritance from his parents passing. And really fun and interesting guy. A lot of weird stories. Reminds me a lot of Kramer from Seinfeld. Very animated, very uh, to the point that I had to yell at him once. I did some lettering on his arm and I blew out one letter because in the middle of it, Jeff O'Toole, did you know this song? And I'm like, dude, I'm tattooing your arm, and he just jerked it up. Like, come on. Um, Super nice guy, but he knows he is an everything about everything kind of guy. But all he really wants to talk about is shit that no one else would ever like. Why? Um, and I watched one day. It was Zach Good had a client, and they're here in this booth, and about 5 feet across from him, Evan's tattooing that guy, and that guy Mark, the older guy, and he starts talking to Zach's client about like banjo music and stuff. And it's like this guy, like this like 30 something hip hop guy that's like talking about Jay-Z. And he's like, oh, well, I don't know who Jay-Z is, but did you ever hear about, the fabulous Everly Brothers and their banjo quartet and, whatever. And this guy just literally pretended to go to sleep after 30 minutes. He's like, I'm out. I'm done. I'm closing my eyes and just pretending to be asleep. And I feel like Mark even still kept talking. So every once in a while it doesn't go right, but for the most part, the open floor plan, it's so good to when you do have those guarded ones or the people that are a certain way. Um, you start hearing the conversation next to you or their conversation talking with this client, and pretty quickly it turns into everybody just having a big open discussion, listening to the same music, talking about the same thing. It's kind of that I am a sucker for like the barbershop mentality of like everybody's there to cut it up and have a good time. So when you've got, hey, everybody's tattooing today, it's all fun clients. We're all going to get lunch together. Everybody's just going to, flap their jaws. It's also kind of nice because then sometimes I can just, okay, there's 3 other artists and 3 other clients. I can just kind of shut up and focus on what I'm doing and let everybody else entertain each other. It's kind of a nice thing.
Yeah, it do be like that sometimes. It's funny, the best way for it to blow up in my face is when like I interject from my room and now I've got people screaming at me from booths away in a different room.
Yeah.
And I can't hear them. And at some point in time, like I either have to say something or hope they get the hint that I can't hear them. But no, it is a lot of fun when you are just cutting it up like that, just in the fun pit of people, everybody talking, everybody connecting. The Chuck and Charlotte, Chuck just recently passed, but I've met them. They've been in the tattoo community locally for years. They've been getting tattooed at my shop by Billy since we opened. And they're like, what is it? Guinness Books most heavily tattooed older couple. Like, yeah, they're super great people. And they met in the tattoo shop. Not mine, but like somebody else's shop, like I think she was getting tattooed and he was in there, and then they just ended up fucking hitting it off and striking up a dope conversation. And it's funny because I was talking about him the other day and I was saying how like not everyone is what they seem. So every doctor you meet isn't a good person, or even a wealthy person, because based on our societal beliefs, doctors are like the best people in the world. Like they're great people. They have all their everything figured out when really they're just people. And so one of the things that I said about Chuck was like, that guy has dropped so much knowledge and so much love and so much good in my brain And I'm over here punishing myself for having been divorced twice and afraid for a third marriage. Charlotte was his seventh, like, wife type life partner. So, like, he'd been married 6 times before Charlotte. But I still allow, and not only just allow, but seek and desire this man's love and words and guidance and comfort. Even though he's made the same mistake I punished myself for twice, 6 times. You know what I'm saying? So it's really interesting how we can view things the wrong way sometimes. But clients come in all forms and all shapes and all sizes and all walks of life. And like, I have learned so much from so many people. Like, dude, this one guy, we got to wrap it up because it's after 6. But this one guy, I love it when this happens. Like, somebody will be like really stoic at the front, and then when they get in my room, they break open. And there's this one guy, Nick, he was dope, owns the largest maritime security company in the world, where basically he just hires ex-Navy SEALs to go after pirates. Because pirates are out there. Yeah, pirates are out there stealing ships. Like, dude, he's on YouTube showing me videos of like his guys on a boat live in a firefight. Like, but then is also telling me about the pizza restaurant he owns and operates and talking to me about systems and processes. And this is the first time I've ever heard of or thought about systems and processes in my business. Because he's like, you have to have systems and processes. You have to fucking have this together. And he's just one of those guys, you know, certain guys, you're just like, yes, can you please tell me everything like a dad would? Because you have all the knowledge and I look up to and I don't know why. He's that guy. He's one of those guys for me. So like, he would come in the front and not even talk to Donna. And then he'd come back in my room and he'd fucking crack open like in seconds. And so, and then he'd go back out to pay, and me and him would like hug and joke and laugh, and then he'd turn around to pay and he'd be like, okay. Like, but it's just so interesting how like you get some certain things out of people that you don't expect to get. Like, I never expected this guy to teach me anything, let alone like be somebody that I crave him coming into my shop, because like I learned so much from him just talking to him while I tattooed him. I want him back as much as possible. Like, it's just so wild how that happens too. It's a beautiful place, the tattoo shop. And the relationships. Look at how we started out talking about difficult relationships and how to navigate them, and ended up just like telling great stories about dope relationships that we built. Like,
the conversation definitely veered in a different direction, but I feel like it still held up to the idea of, you know, everybody's love language is different. You have to learn what people actually want. And it started, like you said, from like a not great place of like, oh man, relationships and tensions and issues, because it is like I did all the right moves, but it wasn't the right moves for that person. And then it devolved into like, when you do make the right moves and it is the right people, or you figured out, like that's something we've all done with our clients. We figured out their love language, their conversation language, their friendship language, and accommodated, even if it is something like you said about, oh, well, I don't know a lot about sports, but why don't you tell me about it? It clearly means something to you. I'm excited to hear you talk about it. It wasn't your love language. It wasn't your conversation language, but you figured theirs out and you figured out a way to roll with it and to let them vent and be happy. And it's kind of the whole moral of, on a grander scale, it is possible. It's just communication is kind of what gets us there instead of assumption.
wild, ain't it?
We kind of full circle and answered our own question.
Ha 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 ha. It's real though, man, and it's normal, and like it's kind of how it happens, ain't it?
It's nice when it does go well.
It is. And honestly, man, I didn't realize how much I missed doing this show. Like, I enjoy doing this. This was a good time. Because like last week I was
in tattoo shop nonsense is our love language.
Right, exactly, dude. We talk about tattoo shop nonsense all the time together. But yeah, last week I kind of did get put into a funk because like I was fighting things tech-wise that I didn't understand. And like when I'm done with this, I never go into a funk. It's when I'm fighting my computer. Because you even called me, you're like, hey man, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, no, I'm just frustrated as fuck at my computer right now. Like,
Feelings over the phone, just you and I.
yeah, private session.
Feelings unplugged.
I like that. Fuck yeah, man. Well, we have run over, so let's
You're known to do.
run. Yeah, exactly. Let's run it out because I mean, we could have this conversation for another 3 hours, I'm sure.
Oh
It's been a very easy one to have.
yeah.
Yeah, and I like having you pick the topics because it gives us a direction and we're just talking the whole time and having a nice time.
Whatever's going on in my own life anyways, or things that I'm thinking about. So it's real easy to pick. Hey, what's been on your brain lately? Oh, hey, let me tell you.
Right?
Gifting people
Shit, because it's my language and it not being what they need. How about that?
Yeah, dude, it's fucking funny because like I'll do rad movement videos and they all have to have a title, but like just talking about life stuff and then like trying to tie it around that title, you know, because these conversations typically happen like that. I love that cat. What's its name?
her name is
Small cat. It's not an original name, but it is accurate.
Small cat. I like Small Cat.
She's like 10 years old and another name has not presented itself.
She's a nice small cat, and I like that.
good people.
It's funny, we got Pumpkin, our most recent dog.
Yeah.
She came with the name Pumpkin. I liked the name Pumpkin. Donna didn't want to give her the name Pumpkin, but she couldn't find another name that she felt like giving her. So Pumpkin it is. So names are a funny thing.
She's small.
It was a cat and it stuck, and then it really stuck. Now it's on vet forms and everything.
Oh man, I love our dogs' names because one of them is Deffy. And like, Empanada and Deffy, and they're like, oh wow, Empanada, how cute. Oh, Deffy. Okay. Like nobody's ever said anything, but I just wonder, like, I wonder if they wonder, like, I don't know. Like, but it's a small town, so like I know people in almost every business just from living life. So like I think it could be something like that too, where like they go into the office and they're like, oh yeah, that's Robbie's dog. It makes sense, move it on. Like, dude, I called the vasectomy office the other day. Dude, every time I fucking talk to those people on the phone, they know exactly who I am. Every fucking time. I know my voice is really specific, but the first time I called to make an appointment, she was like, I know who you are. And every single time, like they always know who I am. So yeah, I had some weird fucking pain and leakage in my ball bag from the vasectomy. Come to find out, it was just one of the dissolving stitches that didn't dissolve all the way. And so we're good. I'm good again. Yeah. So yeah. And so like Wednesday is 6 weeks out from that. So 6 weeks ago I had my balls cut off. And now I won't make babies anymore. Here we are, not making babies. Living the high life. All right, man. Well, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you everyone for joining that watches live or is watching a replay. Thank you, Guy, Gabe, and all the whole Reinventing crew for giving us a place so we can come and talk about feelings. I love you all.